So it has been over a year since January 6th, the insurrection at the Capitol of the United States of America, happened. It was the very first time in all of American history that a traitorous Confederate flag ever flew at the U.S. Capitol, despite numerous attempts by the Confederate Army back in the day to do just that through an actual real war invasion. Somehow, a bunch of hicks and redneck Trump supporters who were convinced by some dumb asshole on the TV that the election was stolen and their daddy god emperor was actually the real person who won, and that if they didn't go to the Capitol and storm it and take control, that they would be complacent in the destruction of democracy. They brainwashed a whole demographic of people. It was very obvious what was coming, and they did exactly what we expected them to do. And it was a monumental event in U.S. history. Now, the Republicans are trying as hard as possible to push this as far behind everyone's memory as possible. This is possibly one of the biggest blunders in all of the right's history. Actually encouraging, abetting, enabling, and then honestly tacitly defending a full-on fascist coup attempt on the Capitol of our country. Absolutely wild, the time that we live in. Not born soon enough to explore the frontier, not born late enough to explore deep space, born just in time to explore the depravity of the human mind. It's been a while since all that happened, and of course, there has been a bit of a committee put together to investigate the January 6th riots, and now they are doing hearings. Supposedly, people are supposed to be held to task for their anything from rhetoric to behavior to their inaction during all of this. And a lot of important stuff has come out about Jan 6th, and I do plan to do a broader overall coverage of the trial and of the hearings once it's all over and done with, and there's been an overall summary done, and it's just easier to, at this point, it's easier to do that than to catch up on everything I've missed, and then to keep up on all of the new events. It's like easier to, all right, I'm going to wait till it's done, and then we're going to do a full what the fuck happened retrospective when it's all done and over with. Kind of like what I did with the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case. Regardless, though, this in particular was just too appealing for me not to cover. It's just too fucking funny. I don't really need to show like the article itself on screen. I know some of you guys do like to read along, though it makes it harder for me to read along because then or to read at all, because then I've got two scrolling things of what I'm reading on the side of the screen on two different screens, so it's harder. So you'll have to do with just my face and my voice reading this article to you. So enjoy. The most explosive revelations from Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony. Cassidy Hutchinson, a former top Trump White House aide, delivered stunning testimony before the House Select Committee investigating January 6th on Tuesday, laying bare how unhinged the president behaved during the riot and alleging that a march on the Capitol was planned ahead of time and not called off despite knowledge that members of the crowd were heavily armed and prepared to commit violence. Hutchinson served under Mark Meadows, the White House chief of staff, giving her firsthand knowledge of Trump and his inner circle before and during the attack. Here are the biggest revelations from her testimony. Allow me to take a drink. The Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers were mentioned during the White House planning for January 6th. Hutchinson testified that in the days leading up to the Capitol riot, she started to feel scared and nervous about the potential for violence on January 6th, and became concerned about the planning going on at the White House. I recall hearing the terms Proud Boys and Oath Keepers when Rudy Giuliani was around, Hutchinson said. She quoted Giuliani telling her on the night of January 2nd that the plan was for Trump and co. to lead the rally planned for the January 6th to the Capitol that same day. When Hutchinson asked Meadows about Giuliani's comments, she quoted him as saying, "Things might get real bad on January 6th. Trump said of the armed January 6th crowd, "They're not here to hurt me," quote unquote. Trump and his inner circle were informed by the street service that there were people armed with rifles, pistols, body armor, spears, and bear spray in the crowd at his Stop the Steal rally, according to Hutchinson. but the president still pushed to have more people allowed through the metal detectors so the area close to the stage would look full. Okay, that is believable as fuck. Does anybody here think that Trump absolutely would want to make the front row look more full for the cameras? Any truers in chat? Like, that is the most believable thing I've heard and hear about Trump for sure. Like, that little bit right there, like, let's assume all of this is made up. This is a perfectly cobbled together story. It sounds exactly like Trump. Probably not made up. Almost certainly not made up. Listen, Donald Trump has publicly demonstrated himself to be lacking of any moral character whatsoever. What do you think he's like in private? I'm sorry. Do you think that, like, Donald Trump being such an asshole publicly, is that, like, reassuring to you? Do you think that means, oh, well, he must have nothing to hide then? If he's so forthcoming about what an asshole he is, then he must just be laying himself, out to the world. He must be being completely honest. He doesn't give a shit what anybody thinks. He's not hiding anything. People genuinely think like that. I assure you, if this is what's bubbling to the surface, publicly, what isn't and what we're not seeing is certainly worse. Do you remember when he said that his favorite book in the world was the Bible, and that reporter asked him to name one single Bible passage that he liked, and he said that he couldn't name one, he likes them all, and then the reporter asked him just to name a single, like, passage from the Bible, and he couldn't name a single one after saying his two favorite books in the world were The Art of the Deal and the Bible? Trump supporters defend that by saying, well, it's just because he has to get the religious vote. And it's like, oh, so you're just admitting he's a liar and he's just tricking stupid people into voting for him? Huh. I wonder if you should maybe think about what you just said there for a moment. He held the Bible upside down. Oh, yeah, I remember that. That's very funny. She said Trump was furious with his security officials, and she overheard him saying, I don't fucking care that they have weapons. They're not here to hurt me. Later, she said that Trump wanted them to march to the Capitol after his speech. Now, this comes with videos, so let's go ahead and
Mr. Chairman,
check out these clips. Let's check out these clip-roonies really fast. I won't talk over these too much. They're literally just clips from the trial.
we will begin today with an exchange that first provided Ms. Hutchinson a tangible sense of the ongoing planning for the events of January 6th. On January 2nd, 4 days before the attack on our Capitol, President Trump's lead lawyer, Mr. Giuliani, was meeting with White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows and others. Ms. Hutchinson, do you remember Mr. Giuliani meeting with Mr. Meadows on January 2nd, 2021?
I do. He met with Mr. Meadows in the evening of January 2nd, 2021.
And we understand that you walked Mr. Giuliani out of the White House that night. And he talked to you about January 6th. What do you remember him saying?
As Mr. Giuliani and I were walking to his vehicles that evening, he looked at me and said something to the effect of, Cass, are you excited for the 6th? It's going to be a great day. I remember looking at him saying, Rudy, could you explain what's happening on the 6th? He had responded something to the effect of, we're going to the Capitol. It's going to be great. The president's going to be there. He's going to look powerful. He's going to be with the members. He's going to be with the senators. Talk to the chief about it. Talk to the chief about it. He knows about it.
And did you go back then up to the West Wing and tell Mr. Meadows about your conversation with Mr. Giuliani?
I did. After Mr. Giuliani had left the campus that evening, I went back up to our office and I found Mr. Meadows in his office on the couch. He was scrolling through his phone. I remember leaning against the doorway and saying, I had an interesting conversation with Rudy, Mark. Sounds like we're going to go to the Capitol. He didn't look up from his phone and said something to the effect of, there's a lot going on, Cass, but I don't know. Things might get real bad on January 6th.
Ms. Hutchinson, Mr. Meadows is engaged in litigation with the committee to try to avoid testifying here. What was your reaction when he said to you things might get real bad?
In the days before January 2nd, I was apprehensive about the 6th. I had heard general plans for a rally. I had heard tentative movements to potentially go to the Capitol. But when hearing Rudy's take on January 6th and then Mark's response, that evening was the first moment that I remember feeling scared and nervous for what could happen on January 6th. And I had a deeper concern for what was happening with the planning aspects of it.
Thank you, Ms.
So that is the first clip they include. We'll go ahead and scroll down to the next related.
When we were in the
Whoa, loud. We'll scroll down to the next related clip they include. I think each of these includes a related clip of the bombshell dropped during the testimony. So let's go ahead and watch.
When we were in the offstage announce area tent behind the stage, he was very concerned about the shot, meaning the photograph that we would get, because the rally space wasn't full. One of the reasons, which I've previously stated, was because he wanted it to be full and for people to not feel excluded because they'd come far to watch him at the rally. And he felt the mags were at fault for not letting everybody in. But another leading reason, and likely the primary reason, is because he wanted it full and he was angry that we weren't letting people through the mags with weapons, what the Secret Service deems as weapons and our weapons. But when we were in the offstage announce tent, I was part of a conversation. I was in the vicinity of a conversation where I overheard the president say something to the effect of, I don't effing care that they have weapons. They're not here to hurt me. Take the effing mags away. Let my people in. They can march to the Capitol from here. Let the people in. Take the effing mags away.
Whew. That's pretty bad. We got another one here. Trump wanted to lead the mob to the Capitol, but was denied by the Secret Service. Previous witnesses had told the January 6th committee that Trump had been saying he wanted to march to the Capitol with his supporters in the weeks leading up to the rally, but Hutchinson revealed that Trump actually tried to go as soon as he finished his speech. Trump entered the presidential limo with the Secret Service, thinking he was being taken to the Capitol. Hutchinson said that Tony Ornato, the deputy White House chief of staff for operations, told her that Trump's security details said it was not safe, as the riot was already underway. Trump became furious and said something to the effect of, "I'm the fucking president. Take me to the Capitol now." Then he reached up to the front of the vehicle to try and grab the steering wheel. Robert Engel, the head of Trump's security detail, grabbed his arm and said, "Sir, you need to take your hand off the steering wheel. We're going back to the West Wing. We're not going to the Capitol." With his free hand, Trump lunged at Engel. Ornato gestured towards his clavicle when relaying this to Hutchinson, suggesting Trump went for Engel's throat. Holy shit. What the fuck? Dude, he's like Homelander. Oh my god. Fucking, he's like losing it behind the scenes, just fucking cracking.
Ms. Hutchinson, when you returned to the White House in the motorcade after the president's speech, where did you go?
When I returned to the White House, I walked upstairs towards the Chief of Staff's office, and I noticed Mr. Ornato lingering outside of the office. Once we had made eye contact, he quickly waved me to go into his office, which was just across the hall from mine. When I went in, he shut the door, and I noticed Bobby Engel, who is the head of Mr. Trump's security detail, sitting in a chair, just looking somewhat discombobulated and a little lost. And I looked at Tony, and he had said, "Did you effing hear what happened in the Beast?" I said, "No, Tony, I just got back. What happened?" Tony proceeded to tell me that when the president got in the Beast, he was under the impression from Mr. Meadows that the off-the-record movement to the Capitol was still possible and likely to happen, but that Bobby had more information. So once the president had gotten into the vehicle with Bobby, he thought that they were going up to the Capitol, and when Bobby had relayed to him, "We're not, we don't have the assets to do it, it's not secure, we're going back to the West Wing," the president had a very angry response to that. Tony described him as being irate.
Sounds about right.
The president said something to the effect of, "I'm the effing president, take me up to the Capitol now." To which Bobby responded, "Sir, we have to go back to the West Wing." The president reached up towards the front of the vehicle to grab at the steering wheel. Mr. Engel grabbed his arm, said, "Sir, you need to take your hand off the steering wheel. We're going back to the West Wing. We're not going to the Capitol." Mr. Trump then used his free hand to lunge towards Bobby Engel. And when Mr. Renato had recounted this story to me, he had motioned towards his clavicles.
And was Mr.
Well, goddamn. Donald Trump seems to be, according to this story, according to this testimony, a little bit unhinged. Hutchinson said that Engel was present when Ornato relayed the account and that neither man cast doubt on the story then or since, according to the Washington Post. The paper also reported that 3 unnamed Secret Service agents who accompanied Trump dispute that he became physically violent, though not that he was angry at being refused an opportunity to lead the mob. We got another one here. Trump once threw a plate in the White House dining room. This is the meme one. This is the one that everybody knows. This is the one that people have been memeing about and making Wojak posts about. They're very good. Hutchinson said the limo incident was not the only time she had heard about Trump becoming violent. She recalled that in December 2020, when the AP published a piece in which Attorney General Bill Barr dismissed Trump's election fraud claims, she heard a noise in the Oval Office. She went to investigate and found the valet changing the tablecloth. There was ketchup dripping down the wall, and there was a shattered porcelain plate on the floor, Hutchinson said. The valet had articulated the president was extremely angry at the Attorney General's AP interview and had thrown his lunch against the wall. So let's go ahead and take a look at that clip. It appears that he was eating something with ketchup, so it was almost certainly nuggies or fries or something. I'm gonna guess he was eating chicken nuggies. with ketchup, and he threw his nuggies at the wall. Oh, that's even better. He was eating a really, really expensive, like, Wagyu beef steak, like some real Kobe shredded beef, and he just covered it in ketchup. That sounds like a very Trump thing to do. Just get some really, really high-quality beef cuts and cover it in, like, ketchup and mustard or some shit like that. Vosh died laughing for, like, 3 minutes after hearing this. All right, let's see if I end up losing my shit. I haven't even heard this yet.
I first noticed there was ketchup dripping down the wall, and there's a shattered porcelain plate on the floor. The valet had articulated that the president was extremely angry at the Attorney General's AP interview and had thrown his lunch against the wall.
That's good. That's good for everyone. Trump approved hanging Mike Pence. Okay, let's take a drink before this one. Trump approved hanging Mike Pence. After the riot was underway, Hutchinson testified that White House counsel Pat Cipollone barreled into Meadows' office. Cipollone told Meadows they needed to speak to the president, but Meadows at first rebuffed him. He doesn't want to do anything about it, she quoted her boss telling Cipollone. Mark, something needs to be done or people are going to die and the blood will be on your fucking hands, Cipollone shot back. I'm going down there. Meadows and Cipollone then walked a few steps over to the Oval Office dining room, and Hutchinson was in earshot. At the same time, Meadows was fielding a phone call from Republican lawmaker Jim Jordan, who was inside the Capitol when it was under siege. Hutchinson said she could hear the group, including Trump, talking about the Hang Mike Pence chant that the mob was shouting by then. She did not, however, hear what Trump said. After Meadows and Cipollone finished talking to Trump, they had another exchange where Cipollone argued to press Meadows to get the president to call off his bloodthirsty supporters. You heard them. You heard him, Pat. He thinks Mike deserves it. Hutchinson quoted Meadows telling Cipollone about what the two men just heard about from Trump. He doesn't think they're doing anything wrong, quote unquote. Now, one thing I've noticed a lot of in this testimony, and it's going to become relevant because we have to talk about the conservatives and their reaction to all of this later. But most of what she's claimed that she heard was someone telling her about a thing they claimed they saw. Yeah, it's a good thing she actually testified, especially if this is true. So I feel like a lot of people might go with the idea that she's, making this up, but she's making it so that there's enough separation between her and the events that she can't get in trouble for quote unquote lying. And we'll get into the accusations of lying shortly. Skid it. Make conservatives afraid again.
Wasn't until
You guys remember when conservatives were afraid? Don't you guys remember that? Don't you guys remember when conservatives knew how fucking stupid everything they stood for was and how much everybody was against their ideals and their beliefs? And they used to like hide and lie about what they believed. They would claim they were like, just edgelord liberals or like classical liberals or whatever. There was a time where I feel like for a while, especially socially, conservatives were afraid a little bit. They knew that their way of life was dying out. And I feel like this last decade or so, they've had a marginally successful reignition of their political beliefs through a rebranding and a culture war waging type strategy. And it's crazy because otherwise you'd think that conservatism would have died out a while ago, right? At least, like, I was fairly confident, granted, not very politically aware, but still fairly confident. Did any of you feel like we probably wouldn't get another Republican president after Obama? How many of you felt like that? Granted, I was like 8 to 12 when Obama got elected. I'm sure some of you felt like that, right? At least a few of you. It kind of felt as though, well, goddamn, we got our first black president, and he's a Democrat, and he's progressive, like populist-ish kind of progressive. If this is what the people are willing to vote for, then it's possible that the Republicans don't really stand much of a chance anymore in this political climate. And to be fair, they didn't. I don't think they did stand much of a chance anymore. Their next elect was Trump, who is nothing like McCain, nothing like Romney, nothing like Bush, nothing like Bush Jr. or Sr., sorry. Nothing like any of the Republican presidents that came before, except maybe Reagan, though he's mostly just aping a little bit of Reagan and Nixon's bits. Like, he tries to, like, kind of, like, ape what made them two Republicans so good. But for the most part, he's just sort of an, kind of a dumbass, Like, he doesn't really seem very smart. Zam, we going to Seattle now? Hell yes, we are. Don't know why that didn't work the first time, but let's go.
It wasn't until Mark hung up the phone, handed it back to me. I went back to my desk. A couple minutes later, him and Pat came back, possibly Eric Hirschman too. I'm pretty sure Eric Hirschman was there. But I'm confident it was Pat that was there. I remember Pat saying something to the effect of, Mark, we need to do something more. They're literally calling for the vice president to be effing hung. And Mark had responded something to the effect of, you heard him, Pat. He thinks Mike deserves it. He doesn't think they're doing anything wrong. To which Pat said something, this is effing crazy. We need to be doing something more. Briefly stepped into Mark's office. And when Mark had said something to the effect of, he doesn't think they're doing anything wrong, knowing what I had heard briefly in the dining room, coupled with Pat discussing the hang Mike Pence chants in the lobby of our office, and then Mark's response, I understood there to be the rioters in the Capitol that were chanting for the vice president to be hung.
I kind of want to make a joke about the sentence chanting for the vice president to be hung. Oh, yep, no, you guys in chat are already doing it for me. Good to see. Yep. Good to know I know my chat better than I know myself. Very good, very good. Thank you for doing it for me. I didn't even have to do it myself. Very good. Love you guys. Perfect. You guys are awesome. Perfect. You know me so well. Meadows has refused to testify before the committee, defying a subpoena and leading him to be referred to the Justice Department for criminal prosecution for contempt of Congress. The Justice Department subsequently declined to charge him. Michael Flynn took the fifth when asked if the January 6th violence was justified. During the hearing, the January 6th panel played a clip from the former Trump National Security Advisor Michael Flynn's deposition in which he paused for 1 moment and 36 seconds. That's a long pause. When asked if he felt the violence on January 6th was justified, then repeatedly pleaded the fifth. That is, oh, damn. What a way to just, like, let everybody in the room know that you totally think the violence was justified, but you're too much of a pussy to come out and say it. Yeah, Michael Flynn wrote his stupid fucking book. Get his clout and his money.
Do you believe the violence on January 6th was justified morally?
1, 2,
Take the fifth.
3.
Do you believe the violence on January 6th was justified legally?
Fifth.
General Flynn, do you believe in the peaceful transition of power in the United States of America?
The fifth.
Well, I drank a fifth of water. Trump wanted to float pardons for rioters. Of course he did. Why wouldn't he? On January 7th, 2021, Trump put out a video in which he condemned the riot, calling it a heinous attack. Hutchinson and Trump didn't think it was necessary to say anything beyond his 2 tweets on January 6th, but a group of advisors, including Mark Meadows, Jared Kushner, and Ivanka Trump, convinced him to speak in an effort to head off any effort to remove him via the 25th Amendment. Hutchinson testified that original drafts called the rioters violent and talked about prosecuting them, but Trump struck that language. The president, quote, wanted to put that he wanted to potentially pardon them, unquote, she said. Quote, he didn't think that they did anything wrong, she said. Quote, he thought the person who did something wrong that day was Mike Pence by not standing with him, unquote. Can you imagine, like, the betrayal Mike Pence is a monster, but Mike Pence must feel like so betrayed by Trump, like, oh, fuck. Yeah, of course. It's hilarious. That's why I'm talking about it. And then next we got two extra segments. Very, very, very good memes. Very good memes. 2 extra video clips related. He's a beaten dog. Yeah, I wouldn't call him a beaten dog, Fembro. He's still one of the most not most powerful, but he's still pretty high up there in the wealth and power index, okay? Getting betrayed by Trump isn't exactly the worst thing to ever happen to him. Yeah, he betrayed every American.
At 3:31 p.m. on January 6th, Sean Hannity of Fox News texted Mark Meadows. Mr. Hannity said, quote, can he make a statement? I saw the tweet.
You can hear? Oh.
Ask people to leave the Capitol. Later that evening, Mr. Hannity sent another text message to Mark Meadows. This time, he shared a link to a tweet. That tweet reported that President Trump's cabinet secretaries were considering invoking the 25th Amendment to remove President Trump from office. As you can see on the screen, the 25th Amendment to the Constitution creates a process for the transition of power if a president is unfit or unable to serve. 25th Amendment has never been used to remove a president. But the committee has learned that after the attack on the U.S.
Can you imagine if Trump was the first president ever in American history to be removed using the 25th Amendment? That would have been hilarious. Wait, we still have another chance, guys. Looks like we're getting another chance in 2024. Isn't that exciting? We're going to get a whole other chance. 4 more years to try it out.
U.S. Capitol. This was.
How do you think he's going to react when he tries to get a 3rd term and they don't let him? How bad do you think the riot will be from the Trump supporters when he's not allowed to get a 3rd term? When they don't have even a shred of hope that he can be president again? How violent and how insane do you think they'll be? He's old as fuck. Trump and Biden are about the same age. Like, Trump's probably still going to be around for like another decade and still be somewhat coherent. I think Trump's death clock probably has like 11 or 12 more years on it. Because, like, here's the thing you have to remember. He's fat and unhealthy and old, but also he's got so much money that, like, he can afford to, like, yeah, he can literally, like, fly. If he gets cancer, he can fly to Cuba on, like, a private helicopter to get some goddamn top-tier treatment. If he gets, I don't know. What other disease could you possibly get, and where's the best place to get treatment for it? Yeah, like any type of VD, get some, yeah, adrenochrome. Yeah, he gets his adrenochrome. Children for him to rape, of course, he's got to get those as well. Believe me, he's got the money and the devices to keep his life going in a very Mr. Burns style, Palpatine-esque, suspended state for quite a long time.
Was being discussed by members of President Trump's cabinet as a way of stripping the full power of the presidency from Donald Trump. President Trump's supporters were worried. In addition to the tweet that he sent Mark Meadows after the attack, Sean Hannity apparently spoke with President Trump and warned him about what could happen. We understand that this text message that Sean Hannity sent to Kayleigh McEnany on January 7th shows what Mr. Hannity said to the president. First, no more stolen election talk. Second, impeachment and 25th Amendment are real. Many people will quit.
And then it continues on in the next video. It picks up right where that one left off, I believe.
Listen, Ms. Hutchison, to what you told us about that and about the process of crafting those remarks.
I learned from a conversation with Mark and overhearing between him and White House counsel and Eric Hirschman as well that Trump didn't necessarily think he needed to do anything more on the 7th than what he had already done on the 6th. When he was convinced to put out a video on the 7th, I understand that he had a lot of opinions about what the context of that announcement were to entail. I had original drafts of the speech where there were several lines that didn't make it in there about prosecuting the rioters or calling them violent. He didn't want that in there. He wanted to put in there that he wanted to potentially pardon them. And this is just with the increased emphasis of his mindset at the time, which was he didn't think that they did anything wrong. The people who did something wrong that day, or the person who did something wrong that day, was Mike Pence by not standing with him.
Well, Trump sounds pretty unhinged. Rudy Giuliani and Mark Meadows asked for pardons. It wasn't just Trump who wanted to pardon the January 6th rioters. Hutchinson testified that Mark Meadows was pushing for that language to be included in Trump's January 7th statements as well, but White House counsel advised against it. Previous witnesses testified that a number of Trump's associates sought pardons for their activities on January 6th, including several members of Congress. This is very believable. Obviously, if anybody who is a constituent of Trump that was involved in January 6th would want a pardon from him. And he did have constituents and friends, I assume, and associates who were part of January 6th. Hutchinson testified that Rudy Giuliani and Mark Meadows both indicated they were interested in being pardoned too. We got another one. Cheney alleges witnesses are being pressured over their testimony. At the end of the hearing, January 6th Committee Vice Chair Liz Cheney suggested that witnesses called before the panel are being intimidated by people with ties to the Trump administration. Oh, who would have thought Trump is engaging in witness intimidation? Or should I say Trump's whole crowd is. Cheney said the committee has asked witnesses whether they've been contacted by anyone attempting to influence their testimony. She then presented two witnesses' answers to that question. All references to individual identities were removed, but on Wednesday, Punchbowl reported that at least one was sent to Hutchinson. Oh, of course Hutchinson's getting, tons of death threats right now. Obviously. Cheney also displayed a message that had been sent to a witness again with the identities removed. It was unclear how Cheney obtained the message. A person, quote, "A person let me know you have your deposition tomorrow," unquote, it read. Quote, "He wants me to let you know that he's thinking about you." Or sorry, a person was redacted. It's the person's name. That he's thinking about you. He knows you're loyal and you're going to do the right thing when you go in for your deposition, unquote. Cheney said the committee will be discussing the witness intimidation issue in order to determine next steps. And that is the long and short of the big bombshells that have come out in the January 6th hearings so far. Obviously, this was released, updated at 4:21 p.m., so about an hour before I went live, a little less than an hour before I went live. So if that is out of date and some crazy shit has happened that I am not caught up on, then, well, you'll have to send that to me. But if, as far as I know, we're now all caught up, or at least caught up on Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony specifically. And goddamn, that pretty insane. So, if you enjoyed this segment, then please consider leaving a like. It helps the channel a lot, and it really does contribute more than a simple show of support to me. It actually does contribute overall to a very helpful little, algorithm boost button. It's basically an algorithm boost button, so consider hitting it. Makes my viewer count go up, makes my views go up, makes my income go up, makes my subs go up, makes everything go up. I really like it. Makes my dick go up too. So hit the like button. Very simple, free, fast, and easy. And of course, if you want to support me a little more substantially, you can donate, subscribe, or gift a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live. And if you don't have any money, you should just come to the website anyway and make an account. It's completely free, and you get to just get your name, like any name that you want, if you want to reserve it now so no one else takes it now. And you will be a white name, though maybe someone will gift you a sub and you'll get all the benefits of a sub without actually having to pay. Regardless, being in the website chat makes you more of a part of the community, I think. You get to access to all the cool emotes, and you get to be immortalized in every video segment and stream VOD when they go up on the channel. I just think it's overall better, so yeah. And of course, if you want to support me on YouTube, you can do so by donating in the form of a super chat, super sticker, or you can hit the join button to become a channel member, which is kind of like subbing on my website or on Twitch, but for YouTube. It costs $5 for the first tier, and then it ascends from that point. You can check it out yourself if you're interested. It really does help out the channel. And of course, if you want to support me on other platforms, you can do so on Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, and Patreon. Links all down in the description. And of course, if you want to see more from me generally here on the internet, you can follow all of my social media linked down below, including my Instagram, my Twitter, my TikTok, my fan Discord, and I'm definitely going to recommend that you guys join my TikTok and my Twitter, because my TikTok's kind of dead right now and I'm trying to work on that, and my Twitter is where all the spicy memes happen as well. And I'm working on getting Instagram a little more active too, but maybe probably once I get into Seattle, I'll have a lot of stuff to take pictures of, a lot of areas to take selfies, and I'll have a lot better content for Instagram. So yeah. With all that said, thank you so much for watching, regardless of whether or not you enjoyed, and I will see you all next time.